Welcome back, my coaster crew, to Let's Build the Ultimate Theme Park in... Oh, don't call you that? That was cringe? Okay, sorry, I'll never call you guys that again. Pet names for audiences are weird. Anyways, welcome back to Let's Build the Ultimate Theme Park. My name's Attacking Toucans, and today we are going to be rebuilding the Imax. Well, not rebuilding, we kind of just put like a shell to like mark out where this Imax was going to be, but now we're going to pretty much rebuild it from scratch and make it look 10 times better, because it didn't look that great originally. We're gonna make it look spicy. And also stay tuned to the end of the video where I do a park walkthrough, because I got so many comments asking me to do a walkthrough of what we've built so far. And so at the end of this video, I did about a 5 to 6 minute walkthrough through the park, just like going through with the sound turned on. It's really cool getting to hear all the sound design. I'm gonna make a whole dedicated video to riding all the rides so far once we finish our checklist that I've talked about, but I wanted to give you guys a little rundown of what we've built so far, just so you guys can fall in love with this park as much as I have, because I spent a lot of time just like looking at this park because of all the little details and stuff. There's so much to like take in. Okay, so the goal for this Imax Theater is I want to have 2 rooms for people to watch movies, and we're actually going to have screens with movies and a bunch of chairs. I want to have areas for concessions, and then also a ticket booth. And in Photoshop, in between episodes, I made like a marquee, one of those signs that says the movie's playing and the show times. And so we'll put up a sign that says the movie's in show times. We'll have a ticket booth, and it should be a pretty functioning Imax Theater. I'm gonna start off by remodeling quite a bit of the outside, and then we'll work on the inside later. And then we're gonna work on quite a few things this episode. I kind of jump around because when I work on like really large projects, sometimes I like to take a few minutes and kind of decorate something else just to kind of give my brain a break from the one thing I'm working on. So like one thing that we work on later in this episode is I build a candy store as well, so people can get all of their sweets. Because for some reason, I don't know why, but theme parks sell so much food. I know why. It's because people like to buy food at theme parks because they're on vacation and they just want to like splurge a little bit. But it's kind of weird because like eating at a theme park is like one of the last things you should probably do, because you might get sick if you eat too much before a coaster. Or you're like walking around all day. Why would you want to eat a lot of food and be all heavy? I never try to eat too much at a theme park. The main thing I'll get sometimes is one of those gigantic turkey legs, because those things are good and you pretty much can only get them at theme parks and fairs for some reason. There needs to be more restaurants out there that sell those gigantic turkey legs. Maybe there is and I just don't know about it. Does anybody know about a restaurant that sells giant turkey legs? Or should I open up my own restaurant that does that? I might just have to. So Imax Theaters. There was only one Imax Theater near where I lived back in Missouri. It was about 30 minutes from my house down in Branson, Missouri. And I remember going there for a lot of school field trips when I was younger. We would go to the Imax Theater and watch various documentaries on the Imax screen. The one I remember in particular was a documentary about Lewis and Clark and their expeditions out west. I also remember watching one about deep sea aquatic life during a field trip. But I think the main movies I watched at the Imax Theater were superhero movies. I remember seeing the original Batman on IMAX, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. Funny side story, I went to Guardians of the Galaxy with my dad, and they had a cardboard cutout of the characters, and my dad looks almost exactly like Drax. It was insane. I saw the Suicide Squad at the IMAX, which was pretty good. I really liked that movie, mainly because of the soundtrack. Honestly, I feel like the soundtracks are the best thing about superhero movies nowadays. I care more about the soundtracks from lots of these movies, like Into the Spider-Verse. That movie has an amazing soundtrack. Suicide Squad, one of the best like movie soundtracks I've ever heard. I'm like super into the trend of superhero movies having like hip-hop artists and various artists making the soundtracks, because it makes the movie experience 10 times better for me, especially because I care about the music of the movies way more than the movies themselves. I'm not sure if I'm the only one. Well, my friends as well do, but I'm not sure if that's a popular opinion or not. And I think I also watched Indiana Jones 4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, and that movie was alright. It was pretty cool, but it doesn't even compare to the other Indiana Jones movies. Today's comment question of the day would be, if you could go and watch any movie in the world on an IMAX screen, what movie would you choose to watch and why? For me, I'd probably have to choose Spy Kids 2, just because it's one of my favorite movies as a kid, and I would love to see Emily Osment fighting the Magnet Heads with her little spinning, gravitating pigtails. I don't know why that's my choice. I probably have the worst choice, but let me know what you guys would like to watch, because, I mean, You can't really go to an IMAX and just see whatever movie you want. So I'm sure there's a lot of movies that people would like to see on that big of a screen if they had the opportunity. I think it's really cool how movie theaters have been evolving recently, just in general, to stay up with current trends and to stay alive, because entertainment is always changing, as you guys probably know. But I like how all movie theaters tend to have the theaters that have the reclining seats now. I feel like that's the most important element for a movie theater for me, because why go to a movie theater and sit in super uncomfortable seats when I could watch a movie at home on my couch or my bed and be way more comfortable? And I think movie theaters are starting to realize that people like to have comfort when they watch movies and not have to sit in a really obnoxious movie theater chair. I think it's also really interesting that lots of movie theaters are starting monthly programs where you pay like $20 a month or $12 a month or whatever the cost is, and you're able to see as many movies as you want. Seems like a really crazy idea. I wonder if it's working for those theaters. Freaking monthly subscriptions, those are taking over the business model for almost every single company. Monthly subscriptions are going to be the death of me someday. I have way too much money taken out of my bank account every single day because of them. So I have like Netflix, Apple Music, I have to pay money for Adobe Premiere every month. I pay for my Google Drive, and I know there's like a lot of other just tiny microtransactions that come out of my account every month. And I probably need to go and clean them out at some point. I think I've been paying for Hulu for like 5 months now, and I've only watched like one show on it. So Hulu's just been getting so much of my money, and I'm not even using their service. But I can't even it's so hard to even end these monthly subscriptions sometimes. It's very obnoxious. So for the interior of these theater rooms, I wanted to make the walls and ceiling darker colors, so whenever you're watching the movie, it's not distracting. And I'm really just happy that there's a piece in this game that is a screen that you can put your own videos onto. Right now I'm just using a stock video that the game has in place, but I just think it's super cool that there's screens that are the size of movie theater screens in this game. It just gives you so many different options, and I'm gonna start using screens a little bit more cleverly in the future, kind of like we did for the hotel pool. Something else I'm thinking about having in the park is an aquarium, and there's no actual aquarium pieces, but what I can do is I can just get video of aquariums, and I can put it on screens and make it look like you're looking through aquarium glass at fishes. Screens are a great tool for thinking outside of the box. So now here I'm taking a quick break to work on our candy shop. So this main building towards the center of the square of the entrance of our park, decided to make this a cool little candy shop, and I am gonna even add more details in a later episode, but I just wanted to make it stand out, have a lot of shelves and just things you can buy inside. I also put some lockers inside this building, so if there's guests, if they just want to put like a bag or a purse or something inside a secure locker, this is one of the locations that you can do that. Now, almost every theme park I've been to has a pretty extensive candy shop or two, and I don't know why that's a trend. I guess theme parks are just trying to have every sort of thing that a person could splurge on as possible, because people just love to splurge at theme parks, because that's usually something you do on vacation. And people like to spend as much money as possible on vacation because they're letting loose. Now, looking back on the building of this candy store, I almost feel like I put a few too many signs inside this building, so I might go through and clean it up a little bit, but I'm trying to fill up as much space as possible so that everything just looks really nice. But I think detailing the interiors of the buildings is one of the most important things you can do when trying to make a really good looking theme park, because having good exteriors for buildings is cool, but being able to go inside the buildings and see them being functional and not just being there to take up space is a very important thing to do. I guess lots of theme parks do have fake buildings that aren't functional, and our theme park definitely does have unfunctional buildings as well, especially in the French Riviera section. But just in this opening section of the park, I think it's really nice to have as much realism as possible. Also, after recording this episode, I downloaded a lot more pieces to fill up these gift shops, so I'm going to go through and add even more details later. And while building this, I forgot to even add a gumball machine inside the candy store, which is like the one candy piece of scenery they even have in this game. I don't know how I managed to do that, so yeah, I'll go back and add more to this in the future, but it's good for now. But as far as candy goes, I'm trying to think of what some of my favorite candies are. My favorite type of chocolate is definitely Reese's peanut butter cups, because I love chocolate and peanut butter together. My younger sister doesn't like chocolate or peanut butter, which blows my mind. How could you dislike two of the tastiest things put on this earth? Beats me. All I know is that she needs some help. And then as far as more sugary candies go, I really like sour gummy worms, and I'm a big fan of lemon heads. Lemon flavoring for any dessert food, like lemon bars or just anything lemon. I love lemons. Lemons are very delicious and And the sourness doesn't really bother me at all. But yeah, we got a decent amount done on this candy shop. I think it came together quite a bit. We'll add a lot more details to this building in the future, but I just wanted to get it started a little bit. Some of these main buildings I'm just trying to get done a little bit at a time, because detailing out buildings can get kind of tiresome. Because of that, I think I'm going to take a break from the checklist next episode and start building a new coaster. Also because we haven't really worked on a ride in a long time, so I think we need to have a new ride being built in the park. But don't worry, I'll still do a tour of the park before we detail out the whole coaster. I'm just going to build like the frame of it and then keep on working on the checklists. Yeah, I just put the marquee over the ticket sales booth for the Imax, and I think it looks really nice and realistic. I think if you like pause the video, you can read the fake movies I put on there. I put a couple real movies too that are trending, but I don't know. And then we're putting these concession stands. I think I also went a little bit overboard on the concession stand signs. So I'll probably clean it up a little bit in between episodes. Sometimes I build things and then I look back at it during editing and I'm like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's close. I'm also happy we have these rope barriers, because these are the types of things that you would see inside a movie theater in the first place. I'm just kind of trying to make this look the most realistic as possible. Also, during editing, I'm noticing a couple of these rope barriers are a little bit crooked, so I'll fix that in between episodes as well. Now, the big pain for this episode was placing the chairs inside the theaters. Not because it's a pain to do so, it just took a lot of time, a lot of copying and pasting. But I think adding the chairs inside the theaters actually looks really cool. So last episode, the comic question of the day that we talked about is, what are your pet peeves for parking lots? I think the most common answer was people saying people who take up multiple parking spaces. And yeah, those can be pretty annoying sometimes. I feel like people usually do that on accident though, like because somebody else will like park too close to the line and they don't want to have their car like in between two cars like too tightly, so they'll kind of like park in the middle so their car isn't like smushed in between other cars, because then it's a lot more likely to get hit with like a door ding or something. Parking can be a little bit difficult though. Sometimes people probably park bad on accident just because they're bad drivers. Can we fault them too much for that? Yes, we can, and they should feel bad. My biggest parking lot pet peeve is when people leave grocery carts inside parking spaces. Like, people who are too lazy to put their carts away annoy the heck out of me. So if you're one of those people, cut it out. Either walk the cart back up to the store or just put it in like one of those little cart holders. It's not that difficult. Stop being lazy, people. Americans, sheesh. So this seems to be the trend during this episode for me to work on little side projects while building this Imax, but this kind of is close enough. So like the side of this Imax Theater was kind of just really big and white and looked kind of plain. So I decided to build this little structure to the side of it to cover up some of the wall. And I decided that the purpose for this building is going to be the offices for the theme park. So this is where like the secretary, the financial analysts, maybe like the bosses, the people who run the theme park, this is a building for them to go into. And I have it built into the side of the Imax because it uses the same utilities and air conditioning units and stuff. We sort of did it to save money and to also cover up the side of the Imax building and just make it blend into the park a little bit better, so it's not this gigantic white building that just is standing up in the middle. Because right now this building really stands out, and since it's so close to the front of the park, I wanted to like hide it a little bit behind some other buildings. So I think this is a nice little way to blend it in and make it look nice, and theme parks need offices, so this is going to be our office building. But dang, am I excited to finish this entrance area of the park. Even though I do like working on it, it is just very time consuming just building so many buildings. I definitely care mostly about building rides. I think that's the most fun element, but I think as far as this series goes, I think building scenery and just detailing everything out in the long run is way more important, because I've seen a lot of theme parks that just have a lot of rides but don't focus too much on the scenery, and they kind of put that as the second thought, and you can definitely tell when scenery is the afterthought rather than the main focus. So that's one of the main reasons that is my main focus on this series. I know some people have been upset because I haven't been building a lot of rides, and like I said, I'm sorry, but most of the things we're building, like the Imax for example, we're spending a lot of time building this Imax Theater, and I guess, I mean, in a way you could consider it a ride, right? Okay, not necessarily, but adding these details is the thing that I think shows off the most from this game. And this archway that I just built on the side of the Imax is supposed to be a back like staffway entrance, and there's like an arch, so if it's raining and the employees need an area to just get some fresh air and stuff, they can go stand out here and maybe have a smoke break. Is that a thing that employees get nowadays at jobs? Are smoke breaks still a thing? I literally can't believe cigarette breaks were a thing that employees got. in the past for businesses and stuff. I can't even imagine being in a situation where I ask my boss for a smoke break during any job that I've had in the past as like a waiter or anything. I feel like nowadays if you ask for a smoke break, you're pretty much going to be fired on the spot. Now to tear the roof off the whole entire building and put some different roof pieces that look a little bit more clean, I think these retro diner roof pieces fit the style of a movie theater much more than just like the white box pieces. Also, I hope you guys don't mind, but this episode is going to be a little bit longer than most regular episodes because I wanted to try to get as much of this IMAX finished as possible in one episode, and then also have time to show you guys a little small tour of the park as well at the end of the episode. And then something else really big that I decided to do is take off the whole entire backside of the building, because I was going to use that for an indoor segment for another ride I had planned, but I decided the building was just looking a little bit too large and that if we needed an indoor ride segment, I could just build another building. I don't need to add it onto the back of this movie theater. And I was originally going to have 3 IMAX theaters, but the amount of chairs and pieces that it requires to have one of these movie theaters, I don't think it's worth having 3 screens inside. Because like I said, the chairs require like another few hundred pieces by themselves, and that's just a lot for extra movie theater screens. And also most IMAX theaters don't have multiple screens. It's usually just 1 or 2. But I just really focused on trying to make this theater look nice from the outside, try to make it not look like too much of a bland building by adding variety to the size of the walls and the height of the roof segments. I think variations to the roof heights for the different rooms definitely adds a lot more of a dynamic to the building and its variety. Also, the background music for this episode has been so intense. It still blows my mind how many different songs they made for this game, because they made background music for every single type of scenery piece and theming in the game. You'll be able to notice this at the end of the video when we do the fly through, but the sound design of this game is so good. I really like how it's really surround sound, as in if you're flying through your park and you're wearing headphones, if there's a coaster to your left hand side, you'll only hear it in your left headphone, and the ambient noise for everything is just so good. Like the graphics of this game are beautiful, but honestly the sound is just phenomenal as well. And even when we fly through the park later, I kind of feel bad because I had noticed that I could have added more speakers and ambient sound effects and music to some of the areas, but I kind of didn't even notice that until I filmed the fly-through shot and listened back to it. But it's just something else to look forward to. I'm doing most of the sound design stuff like in between episodes, because really all it is just like going through menus and listening to the songs and like choosing the best songs to fit the different areas. But in the future, all the sound design will be finished and it'll all sound really, really nice. Then just the rides themselves sound really good. Like when you're going up a chain lift for a coaster, or when you're on a log flume and you hear the log like bouncing off the sides of the tracks that you're on, like all the sounds are really well done in this game. I feel like the sound designers should win awards for this game. Or maybe not, I don't know, I don't really know how it compares to the sound design put into other games, but for a sandbox game, I think it's pretty well done. Now on this side of the movie theater, I put a little side entrance so people could come in from either side, just because like I'm just trying to find ways to fill in the extra space on these walls so they're not just gigantic white squares and rectangles. And I think having a side entrance is really good. And I think having a side entrance is a good idea because we can put some more concessions on the backhand side. That way, in case there's a lot of people in the front concessions, people can come to this back side instead. I'm actually really, really happy with the way this movie theater is turning out. And we're going to use some lighting now to really bring it to life, because lights are one of the best details in this game. And now that I think about it, I haven't watched a movie in a movie theater for quite a while now. I really want to see Us, that movie by Jordan Peele. That one looks really, really good. Apart from that, the last movie I watched in a theater... Oh, I guess I talked about this a couple episodes. The last movie I watched in the theater was How to Train Your Dragon 3, which was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. How to Train Your Dragon is easily one of the best animated movie series out there right now. If you have not watched that series, do yourself a favor and watch it as soon as possible. It makes you feel things, and it's just so brilliantly done. And then I also just tried watching the My Hero Academia movie, but I fell asleep like 30 minutes in, because I'm not sure if I'm the only person who has this problem, but it is like really, really hard for me to stay awake during movies sometimes. Like a lot of the time I'll be watching a movie either at home or in a movie theater, and I'll just fall asleep. Even in movie theaters. I fall asleep in movie theaters more than I stay awake, which is really sad. And I always feel bad because I like spend $12 on a movie theater ticket, And then I fall asleep and it's like, okay, that was the most expensive nap I've had this week. Spending $12 just to sleep in an uncomfortable movie theater chair. But I don't know, for some reason when I'm watching a movie, sometimes I just start feeling tired. And once that tired feeling hits, there's no way I can stay awake. Doesn't matter how hard I try, I will fall asleep. I can try fighting it, but it's gonna happen. I guess the only way to prevent it from happening would be to like stand up and walk around, but usually I don't do that and I just fall asleep. I always feel really guilty too, and it's always been a problem. Like that's a kind of a meme me and my friends have, is like, should we go watch a movie? No, Tyler's here and he's just gonna fall asleep anyways. Even though I don't care. I mean, it's not their money. If I fall asleep during the movie, it's not on them. They don't miss out on the experience. Only thing it affects is that I can't really talk about the movie with them afterwards, except for what I saw. I'm trying to think if there's any other like good movies coming out soon that I want to see. Something else that I think about when it comes to movies is I know that people complain a lot about like Hollywood running out of ideas because they're always like rehashing old ideas and stuff. And I always think that's so funny that people say that, because Hollywood is always coming up with tons of new movie ideas. Like if you look at new movies coming out, there's always like a ton of things that aren't remakes, that are new ideas. But the thing is, those movies probably don't get nearly as many views as the ones that are remakes or rehashes. It's like, I think the people who complain about Hollywood not making enough new movies are probably the ones who are just watching the remakes anyways and aren't watching all the new movies that are coming out. Because there's always so many like completely new IPs and stuff coming out. But the ones that make the money are the rehashes, because most people like and prefer to watch stuff that they recognize, and they don't want to take risks with it. So anyways, that is all I'm going to build onto the Imax Theater for today. It's probably around 90% done, but during this episode I just kind of got tired of working on it since I put in so much work into it, so we'll finish it at a different point whenever we're kind of fleshing out the rest of the details to this opening entrance. But to finish off this episode, I'm building one last building near the other staff building I created, and this is just going to be another staff office building. Mostly just building this to fill up space, and I think it's just good to have some functional office buildings. Well, I guess they're not functional technically in the game, but we're using our imagination. And then this little back segment where the two office buildings and the back entrance to the IMAX will be, that will just be one of the areas of the park that is meant for staff only, and we'll kind of have some staff only signs towards the entrance of it. But anyways, we're reaching the end of the building segment for this episode, but if you stay tuned, we're going to do a 5 to 6 minute fly through shot of the park, which is pretty neat, but I am not going to commentate over that, so you guys can just take in the environment and ambience of the park. But thank you all so much for watching this episode, even though it's a bit longer. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It helps me out a lot, and enjoy this fly through of the park so far.
you